The stars burned silent, cold fires scattered across endless black. Ships moved among them, not human ships, but vessels of the Galactic Empire. Their hulls were silver like blades, sharp and perfect, moving in strict order. Everywhere they traveled, laws followed. The Empire believed their laws were stronger than any weapon, stronger than any fleet. They conquered worlds without firing a shot. They wrote rules, forced them into stone, and demanded every race obey. But there was one mistake the Empire would never forget. They turned their gaze toward Earth. At first, Earth was nothing to them, just another blue planet spinning around a yellow sun. The Empire thought it would be easy. No great armies, no old alliances, no legendary technology. They believed they could break humans the same way they broke thousands of others, by law, by chains, by paper signed in fear. The first envoy of the Empire landed on Earth with golden banners and soft words. He told the leaders of Earth that humanity was now part of the Galactic Empire. He promised peace if they obeyed. He promised death if they refused. He held no weapon in his hands, only a book of laws. He thought the sight of it would make humanity kneel. But the humans did not kneel. They listened. They watched. And they stayed silent. The envoy returned to his fleet with a report. They will obey in time. They always obey. The Empire believed him. They always believed their own lies. Months passed. The Empire sent inspectors to Earth. They came with lists, lists of what humans must give, lists of what humans must stop, lists of how humans must live. No more free seas, no more free skies. Every invention had to be recorded. Every soldier had to stand down. Every child had to learn the language of the Empire. At first, humans smiled. They signed nothing. They nodded politely. But in their eyes burned something the Empire did not understand. One inspector wrote in his report, "They obey, but too quietly." Another wrote, "They smile too much." The Empire ignored these warnings. Then came the first law humans truly hated. The Empire declared that no human ship could fly beyond Earth's moon without permission. Space was no longer theirs. The stars no longer belonged to them. The Empire thought it was a small thing, just one more chain. But humans saw it differently. To take the sky from them was to take their soul. That night, something happened in secret. In the dark hangars, under mountains, in hidden bases long forgotten, old ships were uncovered. Some were rusted, some broken, some nothing but metal bones. But hands worked on them, night after night. Engineers whispered. Soldiers drilled in silence. No news reached the Empire. And then, on one silent night over the Pacific Ocean, a forgotten radio signal was sent into space. A signal only humans knew. 3 words only they could understand. "We are ready." The next morning, an Empire patrol ship vanished near Earth. Not destroyed. Not wrecked. Vanished. The Empire searched, but found nothing. No wreckage, no distress signal. Just empty space. In their great halls, the rulers of the Empire laughed. A small race, too weak to fight. They only hide. They only delay. They will kneel. But they did not understand humans. For humans were not hiding. They were waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Deep in an underground bunker, the leaders of Earth sat around a table. No golden banners, no perfect uniforms, only weary faces and strong eyes. The oldest among them spoke. "They think laws will break us. But they don't know us. They don't know what we are." A silence followed. Then another voice, steady and hard. "Then we show them. Not with words. With fire." A map lit up on the wall. Not of Earth, but of the stars. Red circles marked Empire fleets. Blue circles marked human ships, scattered and weak. But behind those blue circles, another color began to appear. Green. Hidden fleets, old war relics, secret stations humans had never revealed. They were waking up. The Empire thought humans were farmers, traders, workers. They did not know humanity kept warriors in its blood. They did not know Earth's history was full of empires that rose and fell. They did not know that for every chain placed on humans, 100 hands were already sharpening knives to cut it. The silence in the bunker ended with one final voice. Cold, determined, unshakable. If they want to test us, let them. The Empire believes laws are stronger than steel. We will answer with steel. And we will not stop. Above Earth, stars continued to burn. Silent. Waiting. And somewhere in the dark, the first human fleet moved. Hidden. Ready. The Empire had written their laws. Now humanity would write history, with fire. The Galactic Empire did not worry at first. One patrol ship lost near Earth meant nothing to them. Fleets of thousands crossed the stars under their banner. What was one ship compared to the power of an empire? But deep inside the Empire's High Council, there were whispers. A few voices asked the same question again and again. Where did the patrol go? Why no trace? Why no beacon? The answer never came. And while they argued, Earth prepared. The humans did not fight openly. Not yet. Instead, they watched the Empire's patterns. Every patrol, every orbit, every checkpoint around their skies was studied. Soldiers in the shadows counted minutes. Engineers built weapons that no inspector was allowed to see. In the deserts of old America, a forgotten launch site woke. Rusted steel towers shook as engines roared back to life. In the frozen wastelands of Siberia, deep under the ice, men and women assembled machines designed decades ago but never used. In the mountains of Asia, hidden silos opened, not with missiles of war, but with ships, dark, armored, waiting. For the first time, humanity was not divided. Old enemies stood shoulder to shoulder. Borders meant nothing now. Humanity had only one choice: stand together or be broken apart. And yet, the Empire saw none of this. They only saw what humans allowed them to see. Smiles. Silence. Obedience. Then, another disappearance shook the Empire. A supply barge traveling near Mars vanished. No distress call. No debris. Gone. The commander of the local fleet sent a warning to the council. Something stirs on this world. These humans are not like others. I feel it. The council laughed at him. You fear farmers and workers? You fear children with no fleets. But the commander did not laugh. He had looked into human eyes. He had seen their silence. And in that silence, he had felt danger. Far away, on Earth, in a secret underground chamber, the human leaders gathered again. They spoke little, but their words cut sharp. They will not stop, one said. They will take the oceans, the skies, our freedom, piece by piece. They think we are weak, another answered. They think laws can break us. They never learned what happens when humans are pushed. Maps changed on the table again. Blue lights turned green. Green lights turned red. The hidden fleets of humanity were no longer waiting. They were moving. The first strike came without warning. Above Jupiter, where an Empire mining station floated in peace, the sky tore open. Human ships, painted black and silent, appeared from the void. No warnings, no demands, only fire. The mining station burned in seconds. Its alarms screamed across the system. The humans left nothing behind but silence. For the first time in centuries, the Empire lost a station to rebellion. The news raced across the galaxy. Worlds whispered. Could it be true? A small, young species had struck the mighty Empire? Many did not believe it. But others hoped. Hope spread like wildfire. The Empire's reply was swift. A fleet of 50 ships was sent to Earth's system. They came with orders: crush, silence, erase. But when they arrived near the orbit of Mars, something strange happened. The humans did not run. They did not hide. They attacked. From the shadow of Phobos, the Martian moon, Cannons hidden in the rock opened fire. Missiles launched from underground bases humans had built in secret. Old war machines humans once promised never to use screamed through the void. Empire ships, perfect and sharp, shattered under the sudden storm. 10 fell in the first hour. 5 more burned before the fleet even realized what was happening. The Empire was stunned. No one had ever dared to meet their fleets in open battle. And certainly not with this kind of fury. From Earth, the human fleet rose. Not sleek, not beautiful but strong. Ships built from steel and fire, some old, some new, all carrying one message: humanity will not kneel. On the bridge of the lead human ship, an old admiral stood tall. His voice was calm, but his words cut deep. They thought laws would chain us. They forgot history. Every empire before them thought the same. And every empire before them fell. We will remind them. The fleet answered with a single roar, a signal carried across all channels. Earth stands free. And with that, the second great battle began. In the blackness of space, fire bloomed. Missiles screamed. Cannons tore holes in the dark. Ships fell, both human and empire, but neither side yielded. The Empire thought humans would break. But what they did not understand was this. Humans did not fight only for survival. They fought for pride, for freedom, for the right to stand without chains. And that made them stronger than the Empire had ever known. By the time the dust cleared near Mars, the Empire had lost 20 ships. Humanity had lost many too, but their fleet still stood. Damaged, bloodied, but unbroken. And in the halls of the Empire, for the first time, fear spread. This was no small rebellion. This was war. The battle near Mars shook the stars. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Empire lost a fleet. Not against a rival empire. Not against a great power. But against humans, a young race they thought weak. News spread like fire. Across the galaxy, species whispered in hidden places. If humans could resist, maybe others could too. But while whispers turned to hope, the Empire turned to rage. In the golden halls of the Empire's capital, the High Council gathered. They did not sit in calm. They shouted. They argued. Their voices rose until the chamber shook. One counselor screamed, "How can farmers destroy our fleets? How can workers burn our ships?" Another growled, "They broke the law. They must be erased." The Emperor himself spoke at last. His voice was calm, colder than stone. "Send the Legion." The Legion, an armada not seen in centuries. Ships black as night, crews trained from birth for war, weapons that had ended whole civilizations. Where the Legion went, nothing survived. When the order was given, the galaxy trembled. But on Earth, humans were not afraid. In a bunker deep below the Atlantic Ocean, human leaders sat again. The room was silent, yet filled with fire. On the table before them glowed the latest reports. The Empire's Legion was on its way. Some faces grew pale. Others hardened. "They will throw everything at us," one said. "They think this is the end," another answered. The oldest among them leaned forward, his eyes like steel. "Then let us show them the truth. They bring their legion. We bring our legends." At that word, legends, the room stirred. For hidden in the shadows of Earth's history were ships and warriors the galaxy had never seen. Not all human fleets were new. Some were old, older than the Empire itself. War relics, secret projects, ships built for wars that never happened. For decades, they had been buried in silence, waiting. Now, one by one, they awakened. In the dark void beyond Neptune, massive shapes moved. They were not sleek like Empire ships. They were brutal, forged from raw steel, heavy with weapons. Their names were carved from human history: Spartan, Samurai, Viking, Mongol, Legionnaire, Knight. Each was a fortress, each carried a story of warriors who never bowed. As they powered up, their signals echoed through space. One word carried across the stars: ready. When the Empire's legion entered the system, they expected fear. They expected silence. Instead, they met fire. From behind the orbit of Neptune, the human legends moved as one. Cannons thundered, missiles screamed, railguns tore holes in the dark. The legion staggered under the sudden storm. The Empire had never seen such fury. They believed humans fought with desperation. They were wrong. Humans fought with memory. Every battle of their past, every empire that had tried to chain them, every drop of blood spilled in history lived again in this fight. On the bridge of the Spartan, the admiral's voice was steady. They thought laws could break us. They forgot who we are. They forgot that we are born from war. Remind them. The fleet answered with silence, then with fire. The battle was chaos. The Empire's legion fired back with weapons designed to end worlds. Planets shook, moons cracked, the void itself burned. But the humans did not fall. Every time a ship was struck, another rose. Every time a warrior fell, another took their place. 4 hours, the battle raged. The Empire lost dozens of ships, their perfect formations broken. Yet still they pressed forward. The Legion had never lost before, and they would not stop now. On Earth, billions watched the skies, holding their breath. Children prayed. Soldiers clenched their fists. Farmers left their fields and stared upward. The whole world waited. At last, a transmission cut across every human channel. It was the voice of the Admiral, calm and unshaken even in the fire of war. Earth still stands. Humanity still stands. If the Empire wants to break us, they must break us all. And we do not break. The words lit a fire not only on Earth, but across the galaxy. Races under the Empire's rule heard them. Chains felt lighter. Hope grew sharper. For the first time, someone had not only resisted the Empire, they had spoken against it. The battle ended in blood. Both sides lost much. Wrecks floated in silence, torn and burning. But when the dust cleared, the human fleet still stood. Broken. Damaged. But alive. And the Empire's Legion was not whole anymore. Never in history had the Legion been stopped. Never had it left a battlefield without total victory. But against humanity, it did. In the capital of the Empire, the High Council trembled. Their silence was louder than their rage. For the first time in centuries, they feared. The Emperor rose and spoke one sentence that chilled the chamber. This war is not rebellion anymore. This war is survival. And far away, on the black edges of space, humanity prepared for the next strike. Because they knew the Empire would come again. And humanity was ready. The wrecks of the Legion drifted silent in the dark. Fires burned without air, metal twisted into ghosts of ships once feared across the galaxy. Humanity had done the impossible. They had stood against the Legion, and survived. But the Empire was not broken. Not yet. In the Golden Capital, the High Council sat in silence. For centuries, their laws had crushed every rebellion before it began. Their fleets had conquered without question. But now, for the first time, the councillors felt something they had forgotten long ago. Fear. The Emperor rose. His cloak shimmered like firelight, but his eyes were cold as ice. He spoke only one sentence: if laws cannot break them, then we will burn their world. The chamber shook with approval. Armies were called. Fleets gathered. Every corner of the Empire prepared for war. Yet while the Empire planned its revenge, whispers spread faster than ships. Across the stars, enslaved races spoke in secret. Miners deep in asteroid belts, farmers on broken worlds, soldiers forced to serve the Empire, they all heard the same word: humans. And for the first time, they believed the Empire could bleed. On Earth, the people did not rest. Every factory roared with fire. Every workshop worked day and night. Soldiers trained under black skies. Children learned the meaning of freedom with every sunrise. Humanity knew the Empire would not forgive. The next attack would not be a fleet. It would be an invasion. In a hidden base beneath the Sahara Desert, the human leaders gathered again. Maps glowed before them, stars, fleets, worlds under the Empire's chain. One commander spoke, "The Empire will bring war to Earth. But if we wait only here, we will die here. We must strike first." Another answered, "You want to take the fight to them?" "Yes. Show the galaxy what humans can do. Show them that the Empire is not untouchable." Silence filled the room. Then, slowly, heads began to nod. The plan was born. Humanity would not wait for the storm. Humanity would be the storm. Their first target, a fortress world near the Empire's edge. A world of steel, guarded by fleets, feared by all. To strike it was madness. But madness was something humans carried like fire in their blood. The fleet left Earth in silence. They moved through the void like shadows, old warships beside new, legends beside fighters barely tested. They carried no golden banners, no promises of mercy. They carried only resolve. When the human fleet reached the fortress world, the Empire laughed. Their commanders did not even sound alarms at first. "The humans have come to die," they said. But then the first cannon fired. Then the second. Then 100. The sky above the fortress world turned into fire. Human ships struck with fury, not with fear. Railguns cut through shields, missiles pierced defenses, boarding pods smashed into hulls. The Empire fought back with all its strength. Their fleets circled like blades, their fortress unleashed storms of fire. But the humans pressed forward, never slowing, never breaking. On the bridge of the samurai, the captain's voice was calm, almost cold. "We are not here to survive. We are here to show them the truth." And with every strike, with every burning ship, the truth spread. Other races watched from the shadows. Secret channels carried the news. The humans attacked the fortress. The humans are winning. In the slave mines of the Empire, workers stopped for the first time in years. They lifted their heads. In the barracks of forced soldiers, whispers grew louder. In the dark corners of the galaxy, hope caught fire. The battle raged for days. The fortress world shook under the fury. Towers collapsed, fleets shattered, fire rained across the skies. At last, the fortress fell. Not to laws. Not to fear. To humans. When the smoke cleared, the human fleet stood over the ruins. They did not stay. They did not conquer. They sent only one message across every channel in the galaxy. Earth stands free. You can too. The message raced across the stars faster than any fleet. Worlds trembled. Chains felt weaker. And in the golden capital of the Empire, the High Council raged. "They dare spread rebellion," one counselor shouted. "They dare inspire others," cried another. The Emperor did not shout. His voice was low, calm, but heavy as stone. "Then we will crush them before the fire spreads." Armies gathered again. Fleets larger than anything seen in centuries moved through the stars. This was no longer about rebellion. This was no longer about law. This was war for the heart of the galaxy. And at its center stood humanity, unbroken, unbending, unafraid. The galaxy held its breath. Because everyone knew, the next battle would decide everything. The galaxy held its breath. The humans had destroyed the fortress world, a place thought untouchable. Their message had flown faster than light. Earth stands free. You can too. But while hope spread, the Empire's rage grew like fire. From the Golden Throne, the Emperor spoke words that shook the council. "No more laws. No more patience. This war ends with fire. Gather every fleet, summon every army. We will erase humanity from the stars." It was an order no one dared question. Soon, the largest armada in the Empire's history began to move. Thousands of ships, black and gold, stretched across the void like a storm without end. Whole planets were emptied of soldiers. Armies from every conquered race were forced into service. The Empire did not send a fleet this time. They sent a wall of fire. And at the center of its path, Earth. On Earth, the news arrived quickly. Satellites burned with warnings, hidden stations caught the signals. The Armada was coming. Not weeks away. Not months. Days. In bunkers, in war rooms, in the skies above, humanity prepared. Factories never slept. Weapons were forged faster than they could be counted. Old war relics were pulled from their graves. Pilots, engineers, soldiers, every hand on Earth found its duty. But still, the numbers were clear. The Empire's armada outnumbered them 10-1. For every human ship, 10 Empire cruisers waited. For every missile, the Empire had a storm. Some leaders looked at the maps and saw doom. But the admiral who had fought at Mars, who had faced the Legion, only smiled. "They think numbers will save them," he said. "But numbers do not win wars. Will does." Far away, across the galaxy, enslaved worlds listened to the human message. In the darkness of mines, in the silence of prisons, hope burned brighter. For centuries, they had lived with chains. But now, they had seen the Empire bleed. They had heard humans speak the words they themselves could not. And one by one, some began to move. The first were small. A transport ship broke away from an Empire fleet and vanished. A squad of soldiers on a distant world turned their weapons not on rebels, but on their masters. On a farming world, workers rose with tools instead of guns. The Empire crushed each quickly, but each rebellion carried a whisper: the humans fight. The humans stand free. Then came the first true allies. In the shadows of the void, a strange fleet appeared near the human border. Ships not human, but old, scarred, carrying the marks of a race long enslaved. They sent no threats. Only a message: "We heard your call. We will fight." Human commanders stared in silence. Aliens had come, not to conquer, not to demand, but to stand with them. Soon, more followed. Small fleets, broken groups, old warriors carrying nothing but rust and courage. They were not many. They were not powerful. But they brought something greater, proof that the galaxy was waking. On the night before the battle, the human fleet and their new allies gathered above Earth. It was not a grand armada, not a sea of endless ships. It was scattered, uneven, scarred. But it carried a spirit stronger than any law. On the bridge of the Spartan, the admiral looked across the stars. He spoke not only to humans, but to every ally who had come. His voice carried across every channel. They come with numbers. They come with fear. But look around you. Look at who stands here. We are not the Empire. We do not fight for chains. We fight for freedom. For Earth. For every world waiting in silence. If we must fall, then we fall as warriors. If we must die, then we die free. A silence followed. Then, one by one, voices answered. Free. 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 The word carried across the fleet until it was a roar. Then, the alarms screamed. The Empire's armada had arrived. Thousands of ships filled the skies, their black hulls blotting out the stars. Their weapons burned brighter than suns. Their signal cut across every channel, the Emperor's voice cold and final. Earth will kneel. And with that, the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen began. The first shots lit the void. Empire cannons thundered, human shields burned. But the humans and their allies did not retreat. They met the storm with fire of their own. Missiles streaked through the black. Railguns tore holes in perfect formations. Boarding pods smashed into the Empire's giants, spilling soldiers who fought like wolves. The battle was chaos, a storm of fire and steel. Ships shattered, engines died, wrecks floated silent. But through it all, the human fleet held the line. On Earth, every man, woman, and child watched the skies. They did not sleep. They did not speak. They only waited, hearts beating with fire. And in the middle of the storm, the admiral spoke one more time, calm as stone. They thought laws could break us. They thought fire could erase us. But they forgot one truth: humans never kneel. The fleet roared back in answer. And with that, humanity charged into the heart of the storm. The sky above Earth was no longer black. It burned. Empire ships filled the void like a storm of steel. Thousands of cannons lit the darkness, each blast brighter than the sun. Their armada stretched so far that even the stars vanished behind them. Against this wall of fire, the human fleet stood small, almost fragile. A few hundred ships, scarred and battered, flanked by alien allies who had answered Earth's call. The numbers told one story: defeat. But humanity told another. The first clash tore the silence apart. Empire cruisers moved in perfect formations, their shields glowing like walls of gold. Human ships charged forward with wild speed, railguns roaring, missiles screaming. Where the Empire moved with order, the humans moved with fury. The void shook. A human destroyer rammed an Empire battleship, tearing both into fire. A squadron of alien fighters dove straight into the enemy line, opening a hole for the samurai to unleash a storm of cannons. The Viking turned its engines into weapons, burning 3 Empire ships before breaking apart. The Empire expected fear. Instead, they met madness. On the bridge of the Spartan, the admiral stood calm, watching the chaos. Around him, alarms screamed, crew shouted, the ship shook with every strike. But his voice was steady. Hold the line. We fight for every world waiting. We fight for every child watching. We fight until they understand, Earth will never kneel. And so they held. But the Empire was endless. For every ship they lost, 10 more pressed forward. Their fleets closed in tighter, their fire heavier. Human shields shattered, allies fell, wrecks drifted like broken bones. On Earth, the people saw it all. Broadcasts showed the sky burning, ships falling. Some wept. Some prayed. But none looked away. And then, something changed. Across the galaxy, enslaved races had been waiting. Watching. Hoping. When they saw humans still fighting, even against impossible odds, something inside them broke free. On a mining world, workers rose with stolen weapons. On a prison moon, prisoners overwhelmed their guards. On 100 small worlds, chains were shattered. Rebellions exploded everywhere. The Empire sent orders to crush them, but their fleets were already locked in the battle for Earth. The galaxy itself was shifting. Back in the fight, the humans pushed harder. Every captain knew survival was slim. Every soldier knew death was near. And still they pressed forward. The night tore through 3 cruisers before vanishing in fire. The Mongol fought until it was nothing but a burning skeleton, still firing. The samurai was pierced through its hull, yet its cannons kept blazing until silence took it. Even as they fell, they inspired. Alien allies, once hesitant, now fought like demons. A fleet of rebels from the Outer Rim suddenly appeared, striking the Empire's flank. More ships, more voices, more fire joined the humans. The admiral saw it and allowed himself a rare smile. "This is what they feared," he said quietly. "Not our weapons. Not our numbers. Our spirit." The battle raged on, hour after hour. The void became a graveyard of wrecks, glowing red and broken. But slowly, for the first time, the Empire's lines began to bend. Their formations wavered. Their commanders shouted in anger. The impossible was happening. The armada was faltering. The Emperor himself, watching from the capital, rose in fury. How dare they resist? How dare they stand against my armada? But even he could not deny what was clear. The humans were not breaking. They were winning. At last, the admiral gave the final order. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "All ships. All guns. One last strike. For Earth. For freedom." Every surviving ship, human and alien, turned as one. Engines screamed, weapons burned, every cannon fired. The storm of fire was so great it lit the skies of Earth brighter than day. The Empire's armada shattered. Ships fell by the hundreds. Their perfect order collapsed into chaos. Commanders screamed for retreat. Soldiers fled. The unthinkable had happened. The greatest armada in history was broken by those the Empire once called weak. When silence finally returned, the void was filled with wreckage. Human ships floated crippled, alien allies burned, but they still stood. And from Earth, a cheer rose. Not only from one world, but from 1,000 hidden corners of the galaxy. Because in that moment, everyone knew. The Empire could bleed. The Empire could fall. And humanity was the blade that made it happen. The battlefield above Earth was silent at last. Wrecks of ships, Empire and human, ally and enemy, drifted in the black void like broken stars. The greatest armada in history had come to erase Earth. Now it was gone. What remained were scars and legends. On Earth, billions wept and cheered. Across the galaxy, enslaved races lifted their heads for the first time in centuries. The impossible had happened. The Empire had been stopped. But humanity knew the war was not over. In the golden capital, the Emperor raged. His throne room shook as his voice thundered. They defy me. They spread rebellion. They turn the galaxy against us. Then let the galaxy burn. He commanded the last weapon of the Empire, a fleet hidden for ages, armed not with cannons but with fire to end worlds. A weapon designed not to rule, but to erase. His target was not just Earth, it was every world that dared whisper of freedom. The order spread like poison. But what the Emperor did not know was this: the galaxy was no longer silent. Across 1,000 systems, rebellion exploded. Miners rose with stolen guns. Soldiers deserted their masters. Worlds once loyal declared war against their rulers. The chains of the Empire snapped one by one, faster than they could be reforged. And at the center of it all stood humanity. In the shadow of the moon, the remains of the human fleet gathered. They were broken, battered, scarred, yet still alive. Around them, more and more ships arrived, not Empire fleets, but allies. Alien vessels of every shape and size, from 100 races long enslaved. Some were tiny, some mighty, but all came with one purpose. They came to stand with Earth. On the bridge of the Spartan, the Admiral looked across the stars. For the first time, humanity was not alone. His voice carried across every channel, to humans and aliens alike. Once, the Empire believed laws could chain us. Then they believed fire could erase us. They were wrong. We are free, and freedom is stronger than fear. This fight is no longer Earth's fight. This is the galaxy's fight. A roar answered him. The new fleet, the fleet of the free, moved together. Humans at the front, allies beside them, rebels behind them. They were not ordered, not perfect, not polished like the Empire's armies. They were messy, scarred, loud. But they carried something no empire could create: will. They moved toward the capital. The final battle began not above Earth, but in the skies of the Empire itself. The Emperor's secret fleet struck first. Their weapons burned whole moons, their cannons shook planets. But for every shot fired, 100 voices answered. Humans charged with fury. Aliens fought with vengeance. The fleet of the free tore into the Empire's heart. The sky above the capital became fire. The Emperor watched from his throne, his face twisted with rage. "You are nothing," he screamed into the void. "You are children playing at war. I am eternal." But his words carried no power. Because as the battle raged, the truth was clear: the Empire was not eternal. It was crumbling. The samurai drove straight through the enemy lines, cannons blazing. The Mongol, rebuilt, scarred, unstoppable, smashed into the flagship of the Empire's fleet. Human fighters swarmed like angry sparks, carving paths for alien allies to strike. One by one, the Empire's giants fell. At last, only the Emperor's own ship remained, a fortress of gold and black, armed with the strongest weapons in the galaxy. It fired, and whole fleets shook. But still, the humans pressed forward. On the Spartan, the Admiral gave his final order. His voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "All ships. One target. End it. Every surviving cannon, every missile, every ship turned on the Emperor's fortress. The storm that followed shook the heavens. Fire swallowed gold. Steel cracked. The Emperor's ship, the heart of the Empire, tore apart piece by piece until it was nothing but burning wreckage drifting into the void. Silence followed. And then, across every channel, across every world, across the galaxy itself, a single message rang out. The Empire has fallen. The galaxy is free. The cheer that followed shook worlds. Chains fell. Flags of rebellion rose. For the first time in centuries, the stars belonged not to an empire, but to those who lived beneath them. On Earth, the people looked up and saw not fire, but peace. Children smiled at the skies. Soldiers laid down their weapons. The world was scarred, but it stood. On the bridge of the Spartan, the admiral looked at the stars. His face was weary, but his eyes burned with pride. They thought laws could break us. They thought fire could erase us. But we are human, and humans never kneel. And so it ended. The Empire was gone. The galaxy was free, and humanity had written its name among the stars, not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as warriors who stood when no one else could.